Welcome to the Probate Realtor Show, your one source for selling and buying real estate through trust and probate. Hear directly from the best attorneys and trusted advisors on how executors and administrators navigate the probate process in and out of court. Being a personal representative or successor trustee can be a daunting task, and often beneficiaries don't have a clear plan. Let us help you make the right decision for your clients, your family, and your legacy. And now, here's your host, the probate realtor himself, Matias Baker Masucci.
Welcome, everybody, to another very exciting episode of our show. Today, we are talking with Condra Griffin. Condra, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Condra is with LA Elder Law, and she is a California licensed professional fiduciary. So for our audience, we're going to take it one step at a time so everybody understands what Condra does and why her profession is so important in the world of estate planning, probate, and of course, trust administration. So Condra, let's start with something very simple. So what are fiduciary duties and what does it mean to be a fiduciary?
Well, the title fiduciary has a lot of different titles or different responsibilities that come with it. Being a fiduciary, you can be a professional trustee, you can be a power of attorney for wealth, power of attorney for healthcare, and also an executor or administrator of an estate. You can be a agent for an estate during the probate process as well, or an administrator or executor, in the probate process. So we wear many hats, but to be considered or called a fiduciary, you do have to carry a California license to do so.
Oh, okay. Very nice. So thank you for getting right into that. So how does, what does it mean to be a professional fiduciary? And how does the state regulate being a professional fiduciary?
Well, to be a professional fiduciary, you have to go through a series of requirements that the state requires you to take care of before you can even take a test or even title yourself as a fiduciary. Right. So when you first start off, you have to first meet the first requirement of either having a bachelor's degree in a subject area that is conducive to the position or profession for that matter. For me, for example, I have a degree in accounting. So with my accounting degree, it allowed me to qualify to apply for the fiduciary position or the license for that matter. With that license, or it allows you to manage the financial funds and duties that someone who could not handle their own financial responsibilities. So me having a degree in accounting gave me that step up knowledge to be able to handle those types of affairs. So I could also have had a degree in sociology or social studies, and that would be another area that would be considered a good a good educational basis to have that license. So.
Very nice. That makes sense. Thank you for explaining that. Let me ask you a question that is a little bit more specific. What are fiduciary duties in itself? What do they entail? And what does it mean?
Yeah, so what we do as fiduciaries, we pretty much take on the role of someone. We manage their financial affairs, their healthcare affairs, depending on what our role is for that particular person. It could be anything from finding out where they bank, managing their banking affairs, finding out what investment vehicles they have, and managing those accounts, making sure those bank accounts and financial institutions are providing the level of service that they state that they would, and also to making sure that there's no fraud or illegal activity happening. We pay bills, so many different things. But if you look at it from the perspective of your life and what you do to manage your financial affairs, that's what a fiduciary would do for you.
Wow.
Just from a financial perspective, though, it could also be medical as well.
So that is a tremendous amount of power over someone's life. And so,
Yes.
you know, as they say, with a lot of power comes a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
So you mentioned the financial aspect. You also briefly touched upon the medical.
Yes.
What kind of decisions can a fiduciary do on behalf of another person when they have medical power of attorney?
Yes. So if I am named as the agent for healthcare for a client, my duties would be to ensure that that client is getting the level of care that they deserve and also should be receiving, depending on if they're living at home or in a facility.
Right.
I am making sure that their medication is being given to them in a timely fashion, that the caregivers that are giving that care is licensed and bonded if they're with a company, but also too that they're providing the level of care that the client is to receive. I can speak with doctors, I can speak with nurses, I can talk to other professionals that they deal with in the medical areas on their behalf without them being present. So
Wow.
I serve as a liaison, I serve as an advocate, I serve as someone who they can trust will make sure that all of their medical affairs are being attended to and handled in a professional way.
That makes sense. Now, in this show, we talk a lot about estate planning, and one of the things that comes up, you know, it's like, well, if you have minor children, who's going to be, you know, in charge, and all of those things. And also, you know, we talk about selecting a successor trustee who will be the right person. So let's talk about some of the scenarios, because everybody's mind always goes to, if you have adult children, that's who's going to be in charge. If you have family members, that's who's going to be in charge. But that is not always the case, and that is not always the best choice. So let's talk about some of the examples when a professional fiduciary is a good choice.
Oh, I love this question. Thank you for asking. So a lot of times we have clients who have one child, two children, three children, and things of that sort. And depending on who they would I envision being their trustee or helping them with their health care or whatnot is based upon how they feel about that child and what's going on. Now, when there is more than one child in a household, or if a parent has more than one child, or parents have more than one child, the dynamics begin to shift a little bit because we're looking at it. I look at it from the perspective of each child has their own opinion or viewpoint on what care is and how much care parents should receive or little care should be received or how they should handle their care. When I'm talking to clients and just giving my opinion, because I don't give legal advice, but when I give my opinion on who should be their trustee, always advise that it should be looked upon to consider a fiduciary who's licensed and bonded to handle that role. Because what you're doing is you're asking someone to take on a second job who already has a job, may even have family, may even have their own children. And you're asking them to take on another huge responsibility that comes with so many different roles, so many different responsibilities. And as a family member, when a person or a family member leaves this planet or passes away, you don't have the opportunity to grieve when you're also taking on the role of son or daughter, fiduciary or trustee, power attorney. Well, not power of attorney, but agent for matters that you have to rectify when they pass. It's just responsibility. And your time should be focused on caring for your loved ones and also grieving for the one that you lost. So with hiring a professional fiduciary, you are giving that person who has a license the opportunity to take those responsibilities away and do it in the way that California sees fit. And for the process to happen much more smoother and you can breathe easier. You have the opportunity to actually think more about what loving things you could do and ways you can get closer to the family that you have that are still here. But also to know that professional is handling your mother or your father's affairs. And you
Right.
don't have to worry about it yourself.
Very nice. Thank you for explaining that. You know, your care comes through. You're really like communicating that, and it makes a lot of sense. And you know what? I had never heard the context of saying, you know, this show we talk with a lot of people who are involved in this profession, but we never heard giving space to grieve. You don't have the time if you have to take care of all the affairs and everything. And so and that makes a lot of sense. So thank you for sharing that with us. One other question that I wanted to ask you is, sometimes professional fiduciaries are appointed by the court. And so it gets to a different area when people don't something flawed with the estate planning, or maybe just, you know, people are emotionally involved, so something happens. When those situation happens, what are the circumstances do you find in your profession where the court steps in and has to find a professional fiduciary to take care of the estate?
Well, most of the time when I'm hired as the administrator or executor for an estate, it's because either that person did not have a will and they died intestate, or there's a family member who may live in another state that could not be a fiduciary or the executor to handle that affair.
Right.
Those are two of the most common reasons why probate process happens. But more importantly, the court understands what a fiduciary's role is. They know who fiduciaries are. They know what they do. So in their opinion, hiring a professional fiduciary who's licensed and bonded to handle that particular estate or those affairs are more what the court would deem as appropriate. Sometimes family members want to take on this role, and it's the same process that it would be if they were the trustee, because their family had a trust. But when it goes to court, we all know it's based really upon the person not having any estate planning in place.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, from that point, that's what happens.
So those are a lot of the scenarios, which brings me, I guess, to another question. In your profession, do you see a lot? What are some common mistakes that people make in estate planning that lead to the appointment of a professional fiduciary?
Oh, another great question. Depending on when a person created that estate plan, determine what their desires were at that time. Okay. And there are times when those desires change, you know. So if you created an estate plan 10, 15 years ago, who you had in place, what you wanted to happen if you passed away, changed from where you are at that present moment.
Right.
So that's one issue that comes into play, because what was thought about as what I want to happen 10 years ago is not the same now. Right. So sometimes you'll see drastic change happen. And if those changes are not shared with your family or your children or whoever may have an interest or is involved, they may see that as a problem. They may see that as, hey, I remember 10 years ago, she said, or he said. And because of those types of disconnections in communication, you have family members who feel disregarded, who feel that they were left out, or feel like maybe something happened or something went wrong or something was done undue-wise, and they need to get the court involved. So a family member would petition the court, would speak upon how changes were made that they didn't know about, they believe their family member didn't want to do. They were probably forced to do it or whatnot from their opinions. And they will petition the court to either hire a professional or maybe even have them be the trustee or executor or administrator. Right. It's really, a lot of times it's based up upon misunderstandings, miscommunications, the issues of not knowing what happened and why these changes were made is primarily the main reasons why we go to court.
That makes sense. And a lot of, I sell real estate in this arena, in this world of, trust and probate. And a lot of the times the seller is the professional fiduciary because they've either been appointed by the court or something has happened that they had to step in. Particularly in the case of conservatorships, we see a lot the need for professional fiduciaries. But let me, because it comes with so much power, as we talked about, I have an important question for you about misconceptions in your profession, in your practice, and being around a lot of attorneys, et cetera. What are some of the misconceptions that you have encountered when it comes to professional fiduciaries?
Well, the fact that we're not family members in most cases is the biggest concern other family members have.
Right.
We're coming in as someone who doesn't know much about the family, hasn't been
Right.
around the family. So we're seen as this outsider,
Right.
And because of that, we get a lot of distrust. We get a lot of questions and probing about what we're doing. We're always asked to show what we're doing, either from a daily or monthly basis. I mean, and it's understandable. I mean, someone new coming in, taking over your family's affairs, your mother's affairs, father for that matter, and having this type of authority to do things. It's kind of, it's an issue for certain members of the family, and I understand it. But it's always my opportunity to show them who I am, what I do, how I do it, and that I am a very good decision that your mother or your father made, because it saved them time. It gave them the space to really understand and just, get more acquainted with their family, be more part of the family, and allow me to do my job. And once it's all over, I have the best results because they're like, oh, you just saved us. You made everything so easy. And those are the moments I look for.
That is awesome. It sounds like transparency is paramount.
Yes.
And to find somebody who puts your interest ahead of their own, your family's interest ahead of their own, it sounds like it's a blessing for the family. So another question that I wanted to ask you is, you mentioned that you have a degree in accounting, and
Yes.
when you handle somebody's finances, like you said, people are like, what's going on? Where's this money? Has that assisted you in providing, accounting? Because I know that the court has standards for accounting, but also the family may ask, hey, if it's not in the hands of the court, like, hey, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? How has that informed your profession, your background in accounting?
Well, it's more of a requirement that I just had to have to become a licensed fiduciary. However, because of my background in accounting, I know a lot about the financial world. I know a lot about computing and accounting for accounts, reconciling and things of that sort. So that really helped me with my business. It helps me with my business so much, having that knowledge. For cases that are court appointed, it's, in my opinion, it's always best to use professionals to assist with the accountings, primarily because there are a lot of components and line items and transactions that happen, and we want to make sure we get that right. And having an accounting company or professional who's licensed as well assist with that process makes it a lot more easier, not only on the fiduciary, but also too on the family too, because they also have a way to get that information if they ever needed it. I can provide the information to them if they need it. And the way accounting companies structured, how we receive information, find information via online logging in and things of that sort, the statements are very helpful. And it's a lot easier, a better way to go, I have to say.
That makes total sense. Now, let's talk about you. I love this. Let's talk, we talked about the profession, but let's talk about your journey. I love to ask this question.
Oh,
when you were a
yes.
little girl, did you want to be a professional fiduciary?
No, actually, I wanted to be an attorney.
Okay. So tell me how you found your way into your niche.
Oh, well, this is This is another great question. Thank you.
Of course.
So I have the opportunity of knowing my great grandmothers and my grandmothers. Yeah. And I have to say, I was there with all of them until death. And before that, I got to help them. I had to care for them, watch over them, make sure they were okay, assist them with their medicine, assist them with taking them to appointments, and just being there for them. And that alone gave me so much joy. It became somewhat of a purpose for me. So, working in the estate planning field for a little over 20 years, the attorney that I was working with asked me one day, "Hey, have you ever heard of a fiduciary?" I was like, "No, what is that?" He's like, "You need to look into that. It sounds like something you would want to do." And once I learned about what a fiduciary does and how it helps people, especially those who have no family or have medical issues or disabilities, or just need help, need support, need somebody to trust, need someone to be there for them and advocate for them, I knew it was the right job for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you couldn't stop me from that point. I got my degree. I took all the classes. I took that wonderful test that you take, and I haven't looked back ever since. And I have to say, I'm enamored with what we do as fiduciaries. It's a great field to be in.
It's wonderful to meet somebody that loves their profession so much, and it comes through. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes.
Another question that before I let you go, another question that I wanted to ask you is, when people need to find the professional fiduciary, what is the best way? I mean, specifically to get a hold of you, but what are some of the resources out there that you think people can educate themselves, number one, about what you do, and number two, when we need to get a hold of you, how could they do that?
Oh, sure. So one of the best ways I feel that anyone who's interested in learning about what a fiduciary is, or even how to become one for that matter, is an organization that I'm a part of, which is Professional Fiduciaries Association of California. What their acronym is PFACT.
Yes.
I direct people who have questions and things of that sort to this particular website that they have. And what that website does is provide a plethora of information about what fiduciaries are, what we do, how to get involved, how to become one, because they have an academy. And this is a great way for them to understand what I do. And if they're really interested in wanting to learn more about me specifically as a fiduciary, I offer my contact information and a 1-hour free consultation to talk about it. Go over, any questions that they have. I actually tell them to call me anytime they have a question, even if they don't, move forward with hiring me to be a fiduciary or a trustee for their family, their parents, them. I want to make sure that everyone gets the information that they want or they desire. It is important that we inform others of how to help themselves, how to help their families, how to get through troubling times and things of that sort. So it doesn't matter. I just want to be a beacon of information for others.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And is there a website that people can reach you directly? We're going to have your information in the show notes, but for anybody who's listening to the podcast, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, I typically give everyone my email and my phone number, direct dial. Unfortunately, I don't really offer website information, primarily because as fiduciaries, we sometimes have to be discreet about our locations because of the types of clients and activity that could come about from that. So I'm very
that makes sense.
Yeah, I try to,
Yeah.
But you can call me anytime.
All right, beautiful. Condra, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. And I will, it looks like, maybe we can have you back some other time because we only just scratched the surface, but it's been truly a pleasure to talk to you.
You too as well.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the Probate Realtor Show. Find more episodes and interact with us at probaterealtor.la. That's probaterealtor.la. Listen, ask questions, and get results. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The Probate Realtor Matias Baker Masucci is a licensed real estate broker in California, DRE number 020547763. Any legal information provided is for informational purposes only and not for the purpose of providing legal advice. Contact an attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular legal issue or problem. We make no guarantees as to the accuracy of any information. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.